This is Nerdcast.
What, no setup today?
Nope.
Why no setup?
Why won't my father love me? This is Nerdcast.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Roger. Ready to move
out. Well, cue the segue where I explain why no one must ever see my phone.
Well, actually, there's a phone that can help with that. It self-destructs. It's actually pretty inexpensive, too. I'll show you.
Is that going to be on News and Views?
Yeah.
So I can see your phone then?
Sure.
This is the free version.
Hey, guys. Let's start with some TV and movie news, shall we? First up, Sin City 2 has a new trailer, and it looks awesome. I really enjoyed the first movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing the second one. The movie is slated to hit theaters on August 22nd. The Last of Us is also getting a movie, or as my one friend puts it, a second one.
Sure, the game focuses more on story than gameplay, but that doesn't make it a movie, right?
Sam Raimi will be producing the film, and for all of those Naughty Dog fanboys out there, don't worry. Neil Druckmann will be helping to write the script, so we know that it will at least stay true to the game. Just be incredibly shorter.
I'm still confused. Do people not like games anymore?
Game of Thrones is getting an official hip-hop mixtape, and no, this is not a joke. It's not April yet. Supposedly, superfans are making songs based on plot lines from the show, which means I'm not sure this marketing attempt will bring in any new fans. For your random movie news of the day, there might be a new Matrix trilogy.
What?
Rumor is that it will be an origin story of the Matrix, so no Neo, guys. Either way, I don't think I'll be seeing it. Now, for some game news. Portal is getting a board game that is tentatively called Portal, Uncooperative Cake Acquisition Game. Please note, we refuse to do the obvious here.
That means no cake jokes.
After almost 20 years of service, Jack Tretton will be stepping down as president and CEO of Sony America. He was there for the start of PlayStation, but he's leaving that legacy to Sean Layden.
Wait. So you're telling me Sony is getting a character from a Nintendo game to head Sony America?
I said Layden and not Layton. Maybe you should get your hearing checked. Layden will be stepping up on April 1st. Again, not an April Fool's joke. Apparently to celebrate, Sony is having a March Madness Spring Fever sale. But there's a new sale every week and games will roll over on Tuesdays. So be sure to check it out while you can.
Call of Duty, more Call of Duty. This week sucks.
Good thing there are new games out today. A Yoshi-themed 3DS XL just came out on Friday. So if you still haven't picked up an XL, you should go do that right now. You got like 20 designs to choose from. Or you can play Nintendo games on Twitch, where they recently beat Pokemon Red and are working on Crystal. While you're there, be sure to bookmark the site because Twitch will be streaming E3 live to your Xbox or PC as the official streaming partner of the convention. Twitch is not working with PS4s right now.
That just makes me cry. At least I can watch it on my phone.
That you can. You will also be able to show everyone just how bad you are at Flappy Bird for two reasons. One, Twitch is going mobile. Yes! That includes streaming your gameplay to your phone, whether it's iOS or Android. Two, the creator of Flappy Bird says he is considering bringing the game back. Why?
What a horrible marketing strategy. All it did was allow for less buggy copies to come out.
The Ouya is back in news because they're making an Android game console. Yes, another one! But not really. Really, they're just partnering with Mad Catz, who is actually the one making the Android game console. I don't know why they're still making these things.
This is it, folks. Hayao Miyazaki has come out of retirement for the last time. Again. To bring us his probably last film. This is the man who created Totoro, Princess Mononoke, No Face, and a whole plushy pile of memorable fantasy characters. And what does he leave us with? A biopic. It's not fantasy at all. It's some kind of real story about something's life, something called a people, or person, specifically this guy, Jiro Horikoshi. The Wind Rises follows the life of Jiro from his childhood until he designs his first airplane. Basically, it's a movie about following your dreams, no matter the odds, and always trying to be a good person. The movie also features a somber message about raising and enabling the dreams of the next generation. That's pretty significant coming from a director that's probably, definitely, absolutely, maybe on his last film. All biopics seem to have a problem with weaving a narrative together using all the significant pieces of a person's life. As far as I can tell, Wind Rises is about Jiro fulfilling his lifelong dream of building airplanes, and Miyazaki just tries to focus on the moments that inspired his designs. But a person's life doesn't follow traditional story structures. So what we get is a series of marginally disjointed scenes that don't build to any real climax. I mean, there's some exciting stuff here and there, and the classic Miyazaki leaks out during some rather nice dream sequences, but the story becomes a jumble without overall narrative structure.
Don't think book, think textbook.
Still, Wind Rises has ways to connect to the viewer. Maybe it wasn't a fairy tale life, but Jiro is still undeniably beset with antagonists standing between him and his dreams. These antagonists just weren't hand-wringing Disney villains. Instead, Jiro deals with an earthquake, his wife's tuberculosis, and, somehow more important than all that, the collapsing economy and government of Japan leading up to the Japanese participation in World War II.
Wait, you mean?
Yeah. The plane Jiro's most credited for designing? The Zero Fighter, Japan's legendary naval fighter aircraft that dominated the Pacific theater. Basically, this movie made me uncomfortable as an American. There's a scene where Jiro and some Japanese and German men sing a rousing German song, and was it the German national anthem? I don't know, but it definitely stirred the propaganda sections of my brain. I realized I was rooting for the star aircraft designer of the Axis powers, and I had to reassess some self-images. But the more I thought about it, the better I felt. So many of Miyazaki's movies have been about the horrors of war and how war affects everyone negatively. For me to suddenly point and shout, imperialists, Nazis, whatever the Italians were.
Fascists.
Thank you, fascists. I don't mean thank you, fascists. Look, moving on. They would be completely missing the moral of the story. The Wind Rises might be best thought of as an apologist piece. Jiro built warplanes, and the movie shows time and again he hated it. But what could he do? He needed to build planes. That was his calling. That was his reason for living. It's not his fault the strict government of his era forcefully turned his talents to war. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that if the government had restricted my dream to wartime, I'd be doing the same thing. He's just doing the reverse of what American engineers did for our side back during the war, even though we might see him as responsible for the deaths of so many American pilots. It honestly reminds me of the story of Alfred Nobel, inventor of both dynamite and the Nobel Peace Prize.
Focus.
Right, sorry, getting off track. Here, let me sum it up by saying that this is a much slower and scattered Miyazaki film without a true overall story. But it still gets points for making me think about the horrors of war and how we humans are just being suckered into war by the draws of a perpetuated tribalism.
Mitch?
Okay, all people are generally good, the movie's really slow, it's probably not for an American audience, and follow your dreams no matter who it kills. Wait, no, not that last one.
Microsoft is contemplating releasing Windows 8.1 for free as an upgrade and not as an update. Other than it being an OS made for tablets and not PCs, this version is rumored to come bundled with apps that you may or may not want, such as a subscription-based Windows Office. Ugh.
And that's why I use Google Docs.
Ashton Kutcher is helping Lenovo design tablets and smartphones, but he's really just focusing on the user experience rather than what goes into the devices. There's also a smartphone that essentially self-destructs. Boeing, yes, the airplane company. They've created a smartphone that is capable of completely erasing all the data on the phone and making the device completely inoperable. However, they're only selling it to government agencies, so you won't be able to get your hands on one.
There goes my dream of being a spy. Thanks, Jess.
No problem. Comcast has announced that their internet access program for low-income families will continue indefinitely, which is pretty awesome, except for the one minor detail that they have to use Comcast. You know, minor. Vudu is coming to Chromecast, which can now mirror the screen on the Nexus 5 as well. And there's also a new app for iOS that tracks your caffeine intake. Up Coffee determines an estimated time that you can sleep based on the information you put into the app. It told me that I have about 10 years before I can sleep.
Psh, I got 11.
Dell has a ruggedized laptop that is meant for smaller children and elementary schools. The Latitude 13 laptop was made to take abuse from kids. It has Gorilla Glass for a screen, a spill-resistant keyboard, and a super foldable hinge that won't break easily. It's also budget friendly. Spotify bought the company that basically owns internet radio. Echo Nest is the company that powers the streaming itself for most of the apps, but it doesn't actually own the content. However, they will still work independently from Spotify and even with Spotify's competitors.
Luckily, I just use Pandora, so I don't need Echo Nest.
Yeah, and how are those commercials working out for you?
Not well.
Buffalo Wild Wings is slowly adding tablets to their establishments. These will allow guests to order more drinks and food as well as play some games. And when you're tired of 50 million TVs, you can go home and stream Netflix via the new Roku streaming stick. It's basically Chromecast, just more expensive, but it has more apps. And now for the weirdest thing you will hear all week. So a man and his girlfriend who, just happened to live together were doing what all couples occasionally do, which is fight. She got mad, and so she decided to call her estranged husband to rescue her.
Ugh, why do you have your ex's number, lady? That's not how you solve an argument.
Well, what about if swords were involved?
Yes, that is a perfectly acceptable and manly way to solve an argument.
Well, the husband started chasing around the boyfriend, who went to his closet and pulled out his master sword replica. A freaking master sword! What? Well, the husband ran directly into the blade. Twice. Yes, it was a replica, but it was also a real sword. So it hurt.
Not worthy. He was not worthy of the sword.
In response to being stabbed, the husband grabbed what can only be explained as Zelda in real life, a flower pot, and smashed it on the boyfriend's head. It's unknown if any blue or green gems fell out. And that's it for News Today, guys.
All right, so since we're a public access show, I gotta open my review of South Park: The Stick of Truth with a PSA. Jess, take it.
Due to the graphic nature of South Park: The Stick of Truth, the following review will contain tastefully revamped profanity. By me.
South Park needs no introductions. No other show has gone to such lengths to combine fart jokes with social commentary on Honey Boo Boo, and series creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone have become legendary as their show continues to satirize pop culture harder than a satyr at the Playboy Mansion. So, when Mr. Stone and Parker are given full creative direction on their own game, of course it's going to be the most cathartic
Flapjacks!
experience of a game reviewer's short but occasionally humorous career. Stick of Truth is a
Flippin'!
murderous commentary on video games, both classic and modern. Unfortunately, most of that commentary is in the form of jokes I don't want to spoil here, but what I can tell you is that the harassment starts early and never lets up. For example, how important is character creation, really? For how much time players spend picking a haircut, a skin tone, shaping their nose, how important is it? Basically, jack
Rabbits!
In Stick of Truth, your name is Douchebag. You don't talk, because main characters don't talk. You want a class? Here's Warrior, Mage, Rogue, and Jew. And these are just the jokes from the first 5 minutes of gameplay. In typical South Park fashion, once the game gets rolling, the insanity blossoms into this beautiful
Sand!
storm of commentary on video game tropes, pop culture fears stretched to absurdity, and references from all 18 seasons of the show, including almost every song they ever did. The game is a fan's quivering, wet
Dream!
Actually, I was going to say dream.
Sorry. In the zone!
Meanwhile, Stick of Truth is light on gameplay. Other reviewers have called it Paper Mario-esque, which is spot the
Freight train!
on. Most attacks involve a quick time event of some kind in order to ensure success, bonus damage, or blocking. Also, enemies come with their own types and abilities that players need to work around. It's an attempt at depth, but it's not all that challenging. Most fights are over in 2 or 3 turns, and player characters can use a healing item and then attack in the same turn, which makes mistakes reversible and they don't hold a lot of impact. There's some strategy that goes into character building, but for the most part, assuming you don't
Fraggle Rock!
at the quick time events and you can learn the uncomfortably short timing windows, combat's not going to cause you any trouble. But the real star is world navigation. Exploring takes up as much time as combat, actually maybe more, and in many ways it's much more rewarding. Most of the references are hidden throughout the world map, including my personal favorite, the collectible Chimpokemon toys. There are also traps strewn everywhere which can either win a fight for you or reduce the difficulty by about half. Plus, for the first time ever, players can explore the fully mapped world of South Park.
And all of Canada.
Stick of Truth is a
Dongle!
funny game, and a masterpiece if you're a fan of the show. combat is accessible to non-gamers who just want in on that sweet
And sour.
South Park jokes, and the amazing story feels like a 15-hour-long episode. But this is a shallow complaint, once the game's been beaten and the jokes laughed at, replaying the game as another class offers nothing, besides seeing how that class plays. So, basically my only complaint is that there's not enough incentive for me to play it again. That's a
Daft.
good game. You enjoy that?
I think this is my calling.
You gonna be okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, so why are you wearing all that?
All what?
That.
Oh, well, see, there's been a death in the family.
And we'll get to that in Words with Pictures.
Before I get to reviews, I'd like to get an update on DC's Forever Evil events. It's been raising a lot of questions in fans' minds, like, who is the hooded prisoner? What is the thing that has chased the CSA to our Earth? And, of course, one of the biggest ones is, what's going to happen to Nightwing? Well, the latest issue had him on the cover, beaten up and tied up, so we were pretty sure that this was going to be the definitive answer. And so what happened? Lex Luthor stopped Nightwing's heart. And that's all I'm going to say about that. On to reviews. Secret Avengers #1. With Nick Spencer off the reins, Secret Avengers is relaunched with a new #1 and a completely new direction. Instead of being deeply entwined in awesomely convoluted schemes, it instead revels in including Hawkeye by trying to be Matt Fraction and David Aja's Hawkeye series. Okay, that's not exactly fair. Michael Walsh's art is similar to David Aja's, and the comedy is of a similar vein, but it does not feel like it totally ripped off Hawkeye. The writer himself puts it best in the letters column, describing the series as Michael Bay directs an episode of Breaking Bad meets Arrested Development, and it's full of spies and superheroes.
Is this a good thing? More at 11.
It plays it loose with the notion of two Nick Furies, Clint avoids fighting a room full of burly naked Russian men, and MODOK is taken about as seriously as you would a newcomer to the character. In short, Alice Cott's Secret Avengers is a wild ride that almost makes me forget I missed Nick Spencer's Secret Avengers so much. 9 out of 10.
All right, well, to start off with, we're going to go ahead and do a quick warning. Jeremy, prepare to weep softly because this first review is gonna hurt.
You don't mean?
Yep. America, it begins. Marvel Disc Wars The Avengers, premiering on April 2nd, thanks to Tokyo TV, one of the Marvel Universe's favorite hammer-swinging, shield-wielding, Hulk-smashing, stabilizer-blasting teams will be leading the charge for what might be the first of many anime adaptations of American comic book superheroes.
Who would do such a thing?
Walt Disney Japan will be developing and distributing the content, and Bandai will be handling the merchandising. Now, granted, this is not the first time that American content has been adapted for use and, well, essentially consumption by Japan audiences. After all, there was Kingdom Hearts, which used Disney characters as a means to an end, as well as the Powerpuff Girls reboot, Powerpuff Girls Z.
AKA, the Powerpuff Girls hit puberty.
Now, overall, the artwork that's been released so far to chum the waters, in all honesty, makes us a little bit cautious about investing the series as viewers, investing into the series as viewers. But with Marvel improving overall since their merger with Disney, and the long-running history of iconic movies and series from Madhouse, well, this take on a group of crowd favorites, well, it really could be worth watching either way. Will it be really fantastic, or will it just be so bad that it's great? Only time will tell with this one.
Captain Marvel #1. I read a few issues of the previous Captain Marvel series that led right into this with the same writer, and the first thing that struck me was that now the art's a bit more generic. The unique art was one of the things that drew me into the previous series, and it seemed odd for the writer to change artists. But it's not just the art so far. This issue just doesn't pack the same oomph as before. The timeline was a little jumpy and abrupt, and it left too little room for the main story to grab the reader after the time spent on the inevitable near future. Aside from that, there's nothing really bad about this issue. It's just that, so far, nothing about this issue really gripped me or made me want to read anymore. 6.5 out of 10. Avengers Undercover #1. Feels like it's been forever since Avengers Arena ended, and I've been at the edge of my seat, mouth watering, waiting for this sequel to arrive, and now it's here. Is it on par with Arena?
Fluffernutter says no. We're gonna say yes, though.
Oh, man. The experiences of Arena have made such an impact on the characters, but the brilliance of Dennis Hopeless cranked an extra twist into the experience, where the real effects we're seeing are from the viral reveal of such events to the mass public. So in a sense, the gap between Arena and Undercover was necessary, because about that much time seems to have passed in continuity as well, allowing us to re-enter these characters' lives at the perfect moment. It's fascinating to see the dark places each of them are, without being too cheesy and overdramatic. Dennis Hopeless does a superb job with rich character work, and Avengers Undercover promises to be just as hell of a ride as Avengers Arena was. 9.5 out of 10.
So let me ask you a question. Are you looking for the feels? Do you like drama, romance, and maybe just a dash of slice of life in your anime and manga viewing experiences?
I would say you need to get out more, but I really would have no room to say that.
Well, Ishukan Friends, or 1 Week Friends as it's actually translated to, is a story about this girl who has a very curious case of amnesia. Now, as she goes through life collecting and experiencing all these fantastic, wonderful memories, sadly, every Monday, she forgets everything that's happened the week prior. Now, this of course means that she has no friends, she has no social life. It's just all around bad times. Now, a boy in her class actually goes up to her seeing this and offers to be her friend.
So basically we're looking at the anime version of 50 First Dates?
Well, more or less. The series at a glance seems to have more emotional range and might actually prove to be a bit more than just your average slice of life series. I mean, think about it. Girl with amnesia, a guy who wants to be her friend, her new friend, every single week. Personally, I haven't read up on it yet. I'm going to be doing that while I'm waiting for it to come out next month in April. I suggest you do the same, to be honest.
Lil Gotham number 12. This is such a bittersweet issue. Lil Gotham was a slice of adorable and entertaining heaven, and now, a year later, it's already come to a close. Even more equal parts satisfying and melancholy is the fact that this issue is pretty much the best of the bunch. It felt like more full stories than every other tale, when some issues just felt like a lot of jokes strung together. Expertly so, but still. I feel like this issue had the series hitting its stride. But it's the end.
All right, comic fans, we've got a series that might go all the way. It's going, and it's gone.
This swan song gets an easy, perfect 10 out of 10. And finally, there's Coffin Hill number 6. I'm glad I took a chance on this Vertigo series. It had a shaky start, but at the end of its first arc, it's opened up a world of potential. The characters are interesting, the magic is surreal but followable, and the pacing is actually quite solid. This issue jumps the plot in a slightly unexpected direction, but ties up all the main threads of this arc deftly, while leaving room for plenty to come. If you're into series with witches, dark magic, and the occult, give this one a look. 8.5 out of 10.
So if you haven't seen the live-action Rurouni Kenshin movie yet, and why haven't you?
What?
Yes, you with the face. Think about this. This movie was absolutely incredible. It was jaw-dropping. And it gets even better from there on in. Because later this summer, sometime in August of 2014, we're going to be looking at the release of a sequel to that. Ultimately, it's going to be a 3-part trilogy, and like the first movie, the second and third are basically going to be live-action, full-length film adaptations of the various story arcs throughout the series. Now, for those of you who didn't see the first one, we're looking at the introduction of the characters, finding out where they come from, who they are, getting a little background, putting them all together, and then we have a quick kind of ultimate boss battle too, actually. In the first one, I'm not going to tell you what happens. I'm not going to tell you who's involved. It's just so incredible you have to see it for yourself. And I highly suggest watching the first one while you're waiting for the second one to come out. And if nothing else, there's always the manga series that has been so long running.
You are getting me a new phone.
Nope.
You better, or I will find some complex and soul-destroying plot that will end your life.
And moving on.
There's been a death in the family.
Good. Suspense. One of the reasons Game of Thrones has become so successful is because the audience has been shown how easily George R.R. Martin kills off characters. The audience worries about their favorite characters because they are in real danger of being killed in the show with very little warning. Especially if they're Sean Bean.
Bad. Eternal tears. Now, I try not to have feelings, but everyone has that one character where it's just giving Tree. She gave so much, and she was just a tree.
Random. Characters die and resurrect in comics all the time. Sometimes coming back can take much of the meaning away from their death. Other times it's the basis for taking characters in entirely new directions, like Jason Todd.
Good. Personal growth. Just like with plot, some major deaths trigger the growth of a main character. Isn't that right, Simba, Luke Skywalker, Spider-Man, and Eren Yeager?
Bad. Adaptation. After a beloved character dies, sometimes it can be tough to soldier on and finish whatever you're reading or watching. You just gotta remember that there's a point to it all. It's something major to tie in the story, not the unfeeling, uncaring darkness of a dark, uncaring universe.
Fan reaction. Fans can be dangerously into shows sometimes, like when Walking Dead fangirls formed a t-shirt army promising that if Daryl died, they'd riot or at least boycott the show.
Good. The memories. Sometimes a character's death is the moment that really, truly resonates with an audience. It can be a noble sacrifice. Or a really funny scream that just lives on forever.
Bad. Overdoing it. It's not uncommon for a non-major character's death to take way too long. If he's not important to the plot, it doesn't need to be in slow-mo. Move on.
Random. Like that time... Well, it seems we've hit mainstream. Guess you could say we're the Big Bang Theory of our show.
No, don't you dare say that. All right, don't you, no.
Why not?
For lots of reasons. And an angry Mitch.
Before I start my rant of the completely rightful destruction of the biggest insult to nerds everywhere, I must first give a little history on the Big Bang Theory and how it emerged. In the 90-day writer's strike of 2007, studios were desperate to keep TV shows going and to bring new ones to audiences for cheap prices that ambitious and out-of-work writers would be willing to accept without argument, because these were the writers willing to sell their souls for a shiny penny and a pat on the head by big studios. And boy, did these writers do just that. How did they do it? I'm glad you asked. By taking a group of people that have already endured enough verbal abuse, in fact are known for their taking of verbal abuse, and furthering it by pretending to understand what these people endure in their dragon caves, once a completely out of their league individual enters their realm. I am, of course, talking about any girl in the context of the world of the Big Bang Theory. This is the entire first season storyline for Big Bang, and should be seen as a truly offensive attack on nerds everywhere. This show pretends to act like it knows what nerds are, and how they would interact with not only girls, but with each other, discussing comics, continuously making sci-fi references to our favorite characters and shows, and fixing something by, you guessed it, standing up to the big bully. This show is a Woody Allen film meets Glee. It would seem like a good idea when pitched, but after witnessing the same sad and obnoxious stereotyping, out of a period of time you realize that this is not flying the flag of nerdism. It's burning it and stomping on it. People still see nerds and geeks as this main group of characteristics. Socially awkward rejects, and when it comes to pathetically trying to get a date with an out-of-your-league girl, desperately trying to be cool. Trying to hang out with other people to emphasize our need to be accepted by the cool kids. Oh, and being foreign, I guess. Apparently being from somewhere like India is an automatic presumption that you're not only interested in computers, but can't talk to girls. This show claims to be on the side of nerds by making obnoxious, obvious nerd culture references and saying, "Look, Doctor Who, oh, we fit in with you nerdy kids." But really, it's an embodiment of the characteristics they've created. This show spawned hipsters in a lot of ways. Hipsters who suddenly found that certain nerd and geek culture, thanks to this show, have become mainstream and cool to talk about, and they've jumped on the bandwagon to fit in, only to discover that the group they want to love has seen through their veil of lies, and now they must do any and all possible things to prove they belong here. Jess, I will hit your PS3 with a ball-peen hammer.
You broke my phone, so now I have yours.
Look, is it an obscure language you haven't learned yet?
Where?
Psych!
I have to go get Mitch and retrieve my new phone. So see you next week, Nerdvillians. That helps. Oh, you.
Helps your.
Yes, it's the wrong your.
It's the word your.
It's the wrong yours, so you are.
It is. That helps you are phone.
Meow and the meow and the meow 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 meow.
Moving on.
Nice. Do it with your voice cracking just like that. I think that was
Moving
perfect.
on. I don't think it's up to me, Jess.
Till then, we're nerds in black.
You're getting me a new mic.
Am I?
It plays it loose with.
Ghost! Dream! Terry's gonna kill me!
Yes, you. You with the face.
Da-da-da.